Yeah. How would this translate to a real world setting, which would happen very often where things go wrong and you have to recover?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and as we know, the world is very chaotic, and I can, as the robot is doing, sometimes maybe adversarially. So I know there's a robot actually delivering food in my bowling alley, and so sometimes my kids likes to mess with it, or we like to get in front of it. So people will try to adversarially maybe mess with it, but also again, like lots of random things happen. And this is actually something that's really important in robotics, which is what's called like the long tail kind of problem. That is, yes, you can train it to act under many situations, just like self-driving cars, but once you start to deploy it and it gets millions of miles under its belt, all sorts of crazy things will happen, right? I think there's an example of bicyclists with a stop sign on his shirt in the back, on the back of his shirt. So the car is like, what is this? And so again, I think the more you experience the world, the more you will experience these very rare things that happen, but you have to really react to and be robust to. Otherwise, either you'll fail or even worse, can harm humans or yourself. And so we really need this level of robustness.
I really am curious. You've been in the field for, I'd say, 2 decades now. Yeah,
Making me sound old, but yes.
it wasn't my intention. But you started with an interest in robotics, and this is before robotics was even cool. What attracted you to the field?
Yeah, so I mean, I would say actually my interest started from just general AI. I think like a lot of other students was inspired by a faculty that taught me, my first AI class in undergrad, and that really inspired me, along with some other CS classes that actually talked about intelligence, the brain, like figuring out how to replicate the amazing things that humans can do. And so that's really, where my interest started, just understanding intelligence. And then, I ended up in a lab that did robotics. And I think, of course, robotics is the ultimate test of whether your algorithms work, because it has to work in the physical world. Again, be robust to all of these random things that can happen. And so I think that's one of the key, aspects, is that intelligence just for its own sake and in a computer. I mean, it is amazing, of course, ChatGPT and all these things. We don't necessarily need embodiment, but I think embodiment really forces the question, right? Of can you actually, do all these tasks in the real world in a consistent, reliable manner? And that's, again, one of the hallmarks of human intelligence. We're very robust to all sorts of things, and we learn adaptively, all these kind over time and things like that. So I think it's a great like test bed for that.
Was this always the vision for you, or has that developed over time?
Yeah, I mean, I think my interest has always tended to be generalization. That is, I don't care so much of how it performs on the things that it was already trained to do, because ultimately, I think I was a believer that, machine learning can do that given enough data of that type. It's really, can you generalize, right, to new situations? And language has been amazing. It's great that we have language models now, because that is kind of a fuel for generalization. You may learn with a few kind of concepts, and then you can generalize to semantically similar concepts because you have similar linguistic representations. Yeah. So I've always been interested in just, the generalization ability of humans. We can do anything. I can play chess. I can drive a car. I can play soccer. And when you have kids, I think you see how quite amazing they are, but also how fast this intelligence develops. And actually in a much more data efficient manner, at least in terms of the tasks and things that they're exposed to compared to the models that we have now. So I think that's what, excites me of being able to replicate those amazing capabilities.